Okay, sometimes it says live and we're not live yet. That's another reason why I always keep my phone handy to see if we're actually live or not. So let's see what we got going. Okay, it says we're live. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Jamie Green. I found out my mother's cry, and I'm happy today because we've been using this month of November to recognize and honor my sister, who we named an initiative after Sylvia's Sister Circle. And I felt like there's no better way to close out this month of honoring her than to babies to the platform. They're not babies as far as they're concerned, but they'll always be Sylvia's to us. So first, thank you so much for joining me. Is the oldest. How old are you, Joy?
38.
38.
Okay.
And Gary is the baby. How old are you, Gary?
I'm 26.
We got a little delay, but it's all good. So I remember, when I look at you, honestly, I see Sylvia in different ways. And she will never be forgotten. We will make sure of that. But I just feel like who better to share her with us than you? Even though both of you were when she passed, there are just certain parts of you that carry your mom that nobody there. So, I know you're a little bit nervous because I don't think I've had either one of you as guests on the podcast before, but this is just a family conversation, right? So you don't have to be nervous. If at any time you say, "Oh, I don't want to do this," just feel comfortable to say, "I don't want to talk about that," MJ. And we have another guest joining us. Her face.
So
We have another guest joining us
as not just as your auntie, but the therapeutic side of grief. So I wanted to, because grief is something we don't talk about a lot. And Jamie and I talked about this and thought it would be good if I showed up. So here I am.
drugged up and all. Okay.
I
All
see
right.
code up.
Pastor Kelly, can you turn your volume up a little bit?
Yes. Hold on one second.
Because I'm having trouble. And as I was telling Joy and Gary to remember the good things about Sylvia, and look at her face, and to the memories that we share, because she was someone special and we're not going to ever forget her. So I want everybody to take a deep breath, relax, as PK says she's here as your aunt. She's also here, Sylvia's pastor, but she also brings a therapeutic piece to the conversation. If we do find ourselves experience some emotions that we really don't know how to handle, and that's she's here to help us to deal with that as well. All right. So let's begin with how do you feel about having this conversation today, Gary?
I feel fine about it. I'm comfortable talking about things that happened when my mom passed. I feel like to keep their spirit going, you got to talk about the person. You got to bring up and say what they mean to you. to really keep their spirit alive, keep their memory going. So I think it's healthy. It's healthy to have conversations like this all the time.
Awesome. I love that. Good answer. What about you, Belle? How are you feeling today?
Mm, I'm feeling good about it, and like Junior said, like it's best to try to talk about it and get it out and don't think dwell on it too much. Just remember the good times and the things that you learned from her over the years. So it is good.
All right, PK, why do you feel that this conversation is important and that it will benefit us today?
I think there are a couple things that come out a lot of times when I have the privilege of doing families in therapy. Is everybody grieves differently. Everybody has their own emotional experience because they had their own experience with the person. It's easy. I use the analogy a lot of times. If we both lost our mother, um, I could say, I know what you're feeling to lose your mother, but the truth is, if me and my mother were very close and you and your mother hardly talked, those are different relationships. So I can't say I know how you feel. I know what the loss of a mother meant for me, but I don't know what the loss of a mother meant for you. And sometimes in a family, what I've seen in families is one, there is almost a competitive grief. Like, well, I knew her better, or I spent more time with her, or I have more memories, or I did this, or you never did this. And so then that sometimes brings about a guilt. Well, because I don't maybe grieve the way the other person grieves, or because, like, maybe I see a lot of times people every uh, year, like they do something. They memorialize either through everybody's doing this whole releasing of balloons thing now, and my thing is whatever works for you, but um just releasing the balloons if I'm not releasing what's inside. And I think coming together to talk about it, one, gives everybody that feeling that I'm not the only one who has days that I wake up in the morning and I miss this person. I mean, like, a lot. And just because I don't, maybe, like, some people are comfortable with posting theirs on Facebook, some people are not. Some people are comfortable with calling another friend and saying, listen, I'm having a bad day, can I just cry, can I just share something. Some people, so everybody, I think this is helpful for everybody to see that grief looks different for everybody, and there is no right or wrong way to grieve. It is a cycle, it's a process that we just have to keep moving through.
That's right. And I appreciate that because you don't have to feel bad how you feel. That's my philosophy is I feel what I feel, and the way I can heal is if I feel what I feel. So don't let anybody dictate to you how you feel or how you should respond. Joy, I think you were a senior in high school. You passed, weren't you?
I was about to graduate. Yes, yeah, around
Okay,
graduation.
so
Yeah.
how did you feel about that? Graduating from high school is like one of the biggest person's life.
Mhm.
How did you feel when you realized that your mom was not going to be there with you during that important time?
At that moment, I kind of felt empty and lost. But I guess y'all like was around me a lot. You kept me kind of like busy. Like we would go out to eat or we would do things to like kind of keep me like oriented and not to dwell on sadness. So I think just y'all was there. So at the graduation, so I think things like that kind of like didn't make me sit and dwell on it for too long. Even though it was in my mind, I cried by myself, or I was angry with God, or, just mad, like mad. So I think y'all like being around kind of like got me not to dwell so much. Like, well, she's over me, she's watching me, she's happy, I did it, but it's empty a little bit, with that part of your mother there.
Of course,
Can I just
of course.
interject
And
right there that
you sure can. Go
I
ahead.
thought about what I remember, and I don't know. I know Joy wasn't there, but I was standing beside your dad when you were coming down the aisle, and I literally stood up when you were coming down the aisle and saw you. And of course, everybody tells you this, like they tell me, you look just like your mom. You look just like your mom.
But
And when I saw you coming down the aisle, I sat back down and I cried through the whole thing. I mean, I couldn't pull myself together because of the very things that you're saying. It's like I wanted her to share this moment, and knowing as her pastor and her sister that that was one of her things. She just wanted to just be here for you guys. And so she made decisions around her health that she felt um, I want to do this because I want to be here with my kids, which turned out to be counterproductive. But she didn't understand that at the time. Like I remember when she would have to keep going back and forth to the hospital to get the fluid pumped off her heart, and the doctor kept telling her that what she needed to do was go to dialysis, and she kept saying she didn't want to do dialysis. So one day we talked about it, and I said, tell me why you wouldn't want to go to dialysis versus every 3 days you're in the hospital. She goes, because I want to be there for my children. And I said, but the way to be there for them is to do the dialysis rather than, because right now you're in the hospital all the time. So you can't really be there for them. So in her plan, knowing that everything she did was around wanting to be there for you guys, and then seeing that she was too, she did miss that moment. Um, it just made me very sad that day. And I remember I just literally I stood up and I saw you and I just sat down and I just started crying. I Because again, talking about the grief cycle, during that time I was her pastor, as Jamie shared, and so there was a part of me who needed to be there for Gary and I needed to be there for you guys.
right.
So I really didn't get a lot of opportunity to just grieve my sister. And so that was a day that I was able to do that and, uh, just feel bad about this experience that she wasn't able to share.
And I want to share this before I move on to Gary. I just feel like your
Hello.
mother, which is
You hear, baby?
hello.
Yeah, we see you.
Oh, I thought Joyce.
You okay, Joy?
Um, one of the things that disturbs me about um, your mother passing was
Hear nothing.
because, as Kelly said, she did love you guys so much, and I wanted her to be healed so she could be here with you. And so I went through a lot of changes mentally with why God didn't heal her and let her stay here with you all. Um, and being brought up in the church like we were, everything is don't question God. God has a
Yeah.
plan, yada, yada, yada. But that doesn't necessarily make you feel better when you are in the midst of that situation. Things that bothers me, concerned me even to this day, Gary. I think you were maybe like 5 or 6 when your mom passed, right?
Yeah, I was 6.
So you and I have had conversations where you say you don't really remember a lot about your mom. and that kind of bothered me as well, because she loved you and she would want you to have good memories. So PK and I were laughing about some things that about you and your mom that were kind of funny. She wanted you to always be happy, right? So she thought eating was important to make you happy. So Kelly and I would laugh about
That's my love.
like when we would go out to
That's my love language.
Want me to show you how I love you? I'm gonna feed you.
We were laughing about how we would go and we would like order what you call them appetizers, and she never ordered you children's appetizers. She always ordered you like grown-up appetizers. Kelly, tell Gary about the time when y'all were going to church.
I think the thing that sticks in my mind the most is like during this time that I was her pastor, I would pick you and her up to go to church with me. And I had Christian. And so we would stop to McDonald's and get you and Christian something to eat on the way to church. And you know where the McDonald's is across from Walmart up north, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you know where the Del Mar police barracks is.
Yes.
So, of course, I would always get Christian like Happy Meals, and she would get you like Big Mac meals or quarter pounder meals, right? So we were getting breakfast, and I remember we were going up the road, and I looked back there, and you were just sitting there, and I said, "Gary, eat your food," and you said, I'm done." And we hadn't even got. We had left the McDonald's across from Walmart, and we had just got to. We hadn't even crossed the Delaware line.
That boy was hungry.
And I said, and I remember turning to her and I said, "That boy don't need to eat like that, Sib. He doesn't need to eat like that."
That boy was hungry.
And she said, he, you know her favorite line. He all right. I said, "That's not good for him." But I think again, it's funny because one of the other myths I think around people's death, because sometimes things get told and they're told so long people believe they're a story to be true. Long before you were born, even long before Joy was born, I don't know if you know the story, but your dad and I went to high school together.
Mm-hmm.
And so your mom met your dad at my house that's how they met, literally at an event that my husband and I were having, and they started dating, and then they got pregnant with Joy. Somewhere along the right before they got pregnant with Joy, they kind of got caught up in the drug situation. And I remember saying to her when she was pregnant with Joy, I was like, "You shouldn't be doing drugs and pregnant." And she didn't know she was pregnant because she was one of those women, and there are a lot of women in the world who miss periods. They don't have like a monthly cycle. Like sometimes they can go 2, 3, 4 months and not have a cycle. So you don't know that you're pregnant because just because you missed a cycle, that doesn't mean you were pregnant. So she didn't know she was pregnant with Joy. So long story short, she found out she was pregnant with Joy, but she had already, been doing these substances and things. So a lot of her health issues that she experienced later in life came from her earlier in life drug use. And so Jamie had shared with me one time that you were under the belief that that her sickness came from giving birth to you.
Mm-hmm.
Of course childbirth is hard, and it didn't they didn't make things better, but she did already have these pre things going on. And it was because of her previous years. Because by the time you came along, your mom was good and like saved and loving the Lord and not doing
Yeah.
drugs and living a godly life. But what I tell people a lot of times too, we had an uncle named Colin. He was my aunt Mark's husband, and for years he was an alcoholic, and I mean just drank. And then he gave his heart to the Lord. And after he gave his heart to the Lord and he became such a witness to his family, um, he got cancer and he got what they call cirrhosis of the liver. And everybody was like, "Oh, well, my God, why would he get that now? Because all them years he drank, he didn't get nothing, and then he got it." But he even said, "This is something that I've sown to my body, and now I'm reaping." Right? So it's just like, oh, you don't get high blood pressure the first time you eat a lot of sweets and bad stuff. It happens over time. So what your mom experienced in her body during that time she was pregnant with you was the result of a history of things that she had reaped to her body from not taking care of herself. um it was a blessing though that even in the midst of all of that she was still able to carry you and give birth to you and you come. But it definitely was not because of you that these things, again, these were situations, the dialysis situation, all of that. They wanted her to do that long before she even got pregnant with you, but she did not want to. And, like that's why I said a lot of decisions that she made, she thought were in her best interest in terms of her family and her life, but turned out to be negative in that regard. So
And
I
I
really
really
wanted
wanted
to
us to,
dispel that.
yeah, I wanted us to address that because ever since Gary mentioned to me that he carried some level of guilt because, everybody's story is she got pregnant, she got real sick. The people in the hospital didn't take good care of her here. She had to go to the hospital in Baltimore, and it still knew that she was pregnant. So, in a child's mind, which all these years down later, I didn't even realize Gary felt that way. And I'm so glad that he
I
trusted
never
me.
knew that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad he trusted me to tell me that he carried that guilt, that it was his fault, that his mom died. But it wasn't. And I'm so glad that Kelly explained that because it reminds me of when I had went in labor with Trey. And I'll get into that story because y'all know how I can get all deep into that story. It was the worst experience of my life, Gary. Anyway, I was like, oh my God, just let me die. I just want to die. Literally, it was horrible. And one day when Trey was around 4 years old, mom said to me, you need to stop telling people that, how bad that labor was and, this, that, and other. And I said, Mom, it was horrible. You were there. You know. She said, I know. She said, but that boy said to me the other day, my mom, do you know I almost killed my mommy? And that's something he should have to be carrying. And I felt bad about it. So then I just started telling the story to other people. No, just kidding. But
Right.
that was too much of a weight for him, right? And so this is what I felt when you said that to me, and I shared it with Aunt Kelly as your aunt and a therapist. I said we have got to get him to understand that that is not a load that he should be carrying because it was not about you, right?
And one of the other things you can see in our family, we not like no baby papa outers. Like that's just not in our genes. Like, I got 20 years between my kids. Jamie got 14 between hers. You know, um, you know, Freddie, he had a couple, but I mean biologically, we just didn't produce a whole lot of kids. So it takes a lot for us, and I always tell people that my body's not a baby body. And having Christian, he gets tired of me telling it, but I always tell him I almost died having him because I wasn't expecting to go into labor at 32 weeks. So it took a lot. Who are you talking to? Who's Jamie talking to?
Mhm.
I didn't say a word.
But isn't her mouth moving?
It's kind of delayed. It's a little delayed. That's why.
Oh,
Yeah. So when she talks, it stops. Her mouth keeps moving because it's delayed. The sound's delayed.
I, she's saying something now. Well, this technology is not for me because I be like, I don't know. So I think one of the things I really wanted to be on here about is, you know, Jamie asked me, even as her pastor, how did I feel? And it was hard for me because one, the day that your mom passed away, I went up there to be with her, and I was there that morning, and she had that's, they get this crust around their eyes and stuff. And Jordan know taking care of people, like, you got to wash their face and stuff every day. So I had got up there, and it was like 8 something, and nobody had washed her face. And I kind of got upset with the people. I was like, so when I went in there to wash her face and take care of her, I looked in her eyes and I said, "You're tired." And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Are you ready to go?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay." And she asked me, "Would I go get your dad?" It's it was interesting because she definitely was fatigued, tired, but she was spiritually, and what we remember about your mom, even as a woman on dialysis and a woman that was in Joy can attest to, is your mom was always on the go, always on the road, always. She'd get off dialysis and go take care of people. And so for her to not have that quality of life, and I said to God, I was like, listen, if she's not going to be restored back to the place where she can enjoy her life, right? And one of the things that he said to me that day, which is part of the reason why I did become a grief counselor, is because he said to me, death is the ultimate healing. So when we ask God to heal someone, we have to be aware that sometimes the healing doesn't look the way we want it to look, but it looked the way she wanted it to look because she was tired of going back and forth to the hospital. She was tired of the pain. She said one day, "I just would like to have one day that I could wake up and not be in pain." I mean, and it's easy for us to go and visit people that are sick and go home. But when we leave, they're still there suffering. And so there should be, I don't want you guys, or anybody to have any sense of, and I've said this to your dad, of guilt or grief, because whatever it was, whatever the relationships were, they were. And Sylvia was a loving and a forgiving person. So I know she didn't go to holding grudges against anybody. And so, whatever we did it, but I do feel that memorializing her by honoring some of the things that she loved to do is great. And I know Joy had said the other day, and I thought about this myself, because even with your grandparents, like, we just kind of don't do that. We don't memorialize or choose to do things that keep their spirit alive, right? So I really want us to do more intentionally of things that would keep their spirit alive. And that's especially, and we do it in our own little ways, because I look at Joy and the way she always is, thinking about other people and reaching out to people. I always tell her, I said, "I don't know where she got this great work ethic from, except from me, because she didn't get it from her mom. And she sure didn't get it from her dad. But but
Mm,
but it's so much about what she does that reminds me of her mom, in the way she engages with people, and people love to be around her. And she just has that energy, and I love that. But there are ways that we can come together and be better at memorializing these people, so that, not that we'll ever forget them, because we won't, but the things that matter to them. That's why, building this community center in Salisbury is so very important to me, that even in my personal time when I'm sick, I say, "Lord, just don't let me die before I build this community center in honor of my parents." because it's not just in honor of them, but I want each of it to be a part of honoring everybody. You know, your mom went through a lot of relationships that were like what we call DV, domestic violence relationships, where people were abusive to her. She tolerated that behavior. She had a time where she had substance use. I want to have all of these things in place in honor of these people. Because I don't want people to forget. And I feel like that is our part of being still being here, is so that no one forgets.
And Gary and Joy, I want away from this conversation understanding that your mother's love for you was bigger than her illness, right? She really loved her children. Um, she loved the storm. I still can't remember where that Stormy nickname came up from, but as he got older, he didn't want to use it. So, but she loved herself some Stormy and some Bells. So I just want you all to know that your mom loved you. She left before you were ready for her to leave. She left before we were ready to leave, but she loved you guys. Now I'm gonna, as we start bringing in, ask Stormy, I'm sorry, Gary, you were
You can call me Stormy. Y'all my family. Y'all can call me Stormy. Now, if it's somebody off the street
okay.
I don't know, call me Stormy. We're gonna have a problem. But y'all can call me Stormy.
What are some things about yourself that people have said remind them of your mom?
I would just my looks, I guess. I mean, not not. I mean, some people say I look like my dad. I mean, when I was skinny, I look like my dad. But a lot of people just say I look like my mom or my dad. They don't really like. Nobody really got into it like personality wise about my mother. For a long time, I didn't know. Like I knew she was a God fearing woman. Later on in life, I found out, she, not everybody's godly at first. I knew that. I knew that was a thing. But, you know, nobody really compares a lot of my personality to my mother. They do say I do act like my mother a little bit because I'm not as. I mean, I'm my daddy's child. So, I got a little temper on me, but I think my mom's side, it kind of evened out a little bit because I don't let it go to my head, and I don't get as crazy as my cousins and my siblings, but but I got a little bit of a heart too, so I think it kind of calmed me down because I was very angry as a young child. I didn't express it as much, my emotions, because growing up with a father, just your dad, as a man, you gotta he teaching you how to be a man, so I didn't really cry, I didn't really do a lot of the things. And as I got older, I realized that I needed that emotional side of myself to open up more because it really suffered in my relationships with women. I was
Yes.
very, to my family, I was nice, I was stormy, I was chill, but sometimes I just got to be understanding. I wasn't very understanding when it came to women. I didn't really understand what it meant to be a man. I didn't believe in forgiveness. Like if somebody would have did me wrong, like it only took one time, and I'm not fooling with you. You know what I mean? I wasn't really forgiving and stuff like that, and I didn't really understand like emotions and how that affected different people. But I think having my mom and me, it definitely evened me out and helped me out, and especially having y'all around me, having women, strong women in my life, it definitely helped me and changed my mind on different things because I was crazy. I was a little crazy, but you know, God has a plan for
I
all of us.
think
And
sometimes I think sometimes when you call me out of the blue and you say, "Hey Jamie, you all right? You need anything? I'm gonna come by and check on you," stuff like that. That
Mhm.
reminds me of your mom because that's the kind of stuff she would do. Like just, always wanting to be doing something for somebody. So I think that is the character trait you got from her, and your love for music as well.
Yeah,
She loved music. She all in the club singing, honey, trying to get people saved. But
Oh my God, yes.
and Joy.
Joy, she was
Oh
so
my God.
inappropriate.
Like,
She was so inappropriate in the club. Come over there talking about Kel. Let's sing for this lady. I'm not singing no gospel music in the
In the
club.
club.
And she in there getting people saved. I mean, telling them they need Jesus. And I'm looking at her thinking, you in the club hiding a Georgia pine, as the old folks would say, trying to convert other people. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Y'all can have it.
in her, it was a part of who she was.
Yeah,
I had a young lady tell
yeah.
me she was over there at 411 Convention Center at the same time I was there. And your mother was witnessing to her, telling her stuff she needed to do to change her life around. She protected her from other females that were trying to attack her and stuff, to the point that when this girl got out, she started coming to because of what your mom had said to her. So she was a people person wherever she was. Joy, what is something you hear about you being like your mom other than your looks?
Everywhere I go, it's mainly the
Can you
looks
cook?
over everything. Yeah, I can cook a little bit. It's just basically the same thing. I look like her. I act like her. I'm funny like her when I want to be. I don't know if mom could fight a little bit, but I definitely, if I got to, but I changed. I changed. But
Give them a little go for their money now. Don't pay. They used to call it Big Sib. Don't pay Big Sib cheap now.
but other than that, like she just in me. As long as I live, she'll never die.
All right, you got that right. Byron says that all the time. He says Joy's like little Sid. So here's my final message to you, or my question to you. If your mom could hear you speak today, which as the older I get, I just really believe that there's somewhere out there in another realm, not just, I don't know. Anyway, we're not going to get into that today. But if your mom could hear you today, what is one thing you would want to say to her, Gary?
Um, I would just tell her I miss her. I wish we could have had a long lasting relationship. I really do. I wish you would be able to see me go to the military or see me go to college. Uh, I just yeah, just that. Just would tell her I miss her, and I'm gonna just keep on doing what I got to do to make you proud. I know I'm not where I'm at in life, where I want it, well, where I want to be, but I know once I get there, it's gonna all be for my mother and my father, because I want to honor them both. So I just hope one day I get there to my goals. I'm still young, so I got plenty of time. I just gotta keep my head on straight.
I love that. Very good. What about you, Joy? What do you want her to know about the woman that you have become?
um, I guess I could tell her, and she could see that I'm living a strong life. I'm taking care of myself, and tell her that I love her. Probably get her to hold me, yeah, like a little baby. Um, um,
That's sweet.
just talk to her. We talked about anything, just the normal. But I definitely would let her wrap me up like a little baby one more time, just one more time. But other than
Oh,
that,
that's sweet.
just one more time. But other than that, I think she's proud of us. I think she's definitely proud of us of what we became and how we move. And even our father, I think he before he left, he was proud of me. He told me.
He definitely
So,
was.
so
And I know this is not about him today, but I always used to tell your mom, um, a lot of times people only hear when somebody does something bad. But I had some wonderful experiences with Gary as my brother in law. And
Mhm.
some of them were things like I used to tell your mom, You know, he ain't perfect, but he definitely tried to be a good husband.
Mhm.
But you know, your mom, she had a mouth on her, like too. And so after he get drunk, my granddad said, "Drunk man speaks sober man's mind." Like when he was sober and he was cleaning and cooking and doing all of those things, she was like, "You get on my nerves," and this, that, and these were just the way she talked. And so when he finally got drunk, they'd have their little run-ins. And then
Mhm.
she would tell people, I said, "But you don't tell them about the good side of him." So all people seem to know you him for is for that. And I don't like that, because before he was her husband, he was my friend.
Yeah.
And I always said to him, even after, you know, that she was gone, he would still call us sister-in-law. He never said sister-in-law. He would always say
He
sister.
never said Jamie. He always said sister.
And I used to tell him, I said, one, it ain't many black men out here that take their son and raise him. You know, like he could have left Junior with either one of us. And I've known plenty to have done that. But he took his own son and raised him. Again, none of us get it perfect. None of us get it all right. But he was willing to step up and be the father. And I wouldn't let anybody ever take that away from him. I would tell him that often. I'm proud of the effort that he made.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So we're gonna have to close us out in a moment. I don't know if she wants to do prayer or she wants to give a therapeutic message, whatever. But I want to say this before she's allowed to speak. The Sylvia Sister Circle is important because we didn't just lose a sister, or mother, or wife, or auntie. We lost something else, and that was a story that deserved to be told, as Kelly said. And part of the Sister Sylvia Circle is telling the stories of women in any walk of life, right? So that's why I want today to say to those of you who are watching, contact me, reach out to me. Let's get together and do some things once a month or every other month. Sisters get together and hang out and just do, because she may not be here in the physical realm, but her love never ended, and her love is still here with us, and we don't ever want to forget that. So she will always be honored, she will always be remembered, and through you guys, she will always live. All right. So, PK, you can do a healing message, or you can pray a prayer or whatever to take
But
us on out.
normally, I mean, as always, my faith is a part of everything that I do, and so it is a part of my therapy. But one of the things I always like to end my therapeutic experiences with people is memorialization, choosing to do something very specific to keep this person alive, right? No matter what that looks like for you. It could be, your mom did like to cook. She did like to reach out to help people. Um, so even finding ways to do those kinds of things around her, and you don't even have to make it like an announcement that I'm doing it on her behalf, but be in your heart, no, mom, this is for you. Like I'm making these. Sometimes I am, part mom, part dad. And so sometimes I don't feel like having the Essie Green side. And so but I'll say, okay, mom, but this is for you. So I try to be that person that I know would make them happy, right? Or do the thing that I know she would do in that moment, even if I don't feel like it. So I'll say, and I would say, finally, I say when we're memorialize with the intent that whatever the relationship was on this earthly realm, it's over. But what we hold in our heart will always be, right? And we can choose to hold all of the wonderful love. We can choose to hold all of the wonderful things that made that relationship strong. And it's nothing wrong with having moments of sadness around it, because we will have those. Will that whole cycle of grief will circle around and around in our life all the time with everyone that we've lost. It's okay to have those moments. We just don't let that moment like become our whole day, where now I can't function because of it, right? So the
Mhm.
peace that I have is knowing that that person is somewhere, like Mariah Carey said, looking down on me. They're an angel that's watching over me, and I want to make them smile. So whatever I can do to do that. Okay,
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Jamie
See
Green.
y'all.
I think she's kind of
All
behind.
right. Thank you all again for those who
You're welcome. Bye
thank
bye.
joining
Problem.
me,
See you
and
later.
thank you for those who are watching. Shut up, Joy. I have some watching even on the YouTube channel. Well, Joy is busy, always in a hurry to go somewhere. We know that.
Well,
Oh
actually,
my
we can't.
That's
God,
it.
We
really?
can't
All right,
tell. We can't tell.
guys. Love you all.
That,
Love y'all.
You see
Bye
how
bye.
she did me? Black
well,
people.
she can't tell that she can't tell that she's behind us. So it sounds like we thought she was done, and that's why we were just sitting here. We didn't know that she was still gonna say something. So me and you and Stormy, we know what happened. Don't
All
worry.
right. Bye
Bye.
bye.